We can't wait to get our teeth stuck into this week's episode. We're speaking about expressions with can't, like can't wait, or can't be bothered, or can't stand it, or can't afford it. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello, and if you're a new listener, welcome. And also, if you're a returning listener, my name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching English to Spanish learners between us, we're going to help you improve your pronunciation, your grammar, your vocabulary, all aspects of your English, and take it up to the next level. Happy birthday, Reza.
Happy birthday, Craig.
300. We're 300.
Not years old.
You're looking very good for 300.
300 episodes, yeah? We're not that old, not 300 years.
Not yet. We started podcasting on January the 30th, 2014, 6 years ago. And thank you very much for staying with us if you've been listening to us that long. And thank you, Reza, for being with us for 300 episodes.
And thank you, Craig, for putting up with me. I don't know how he does it. Not everybody could.
I can't imagine doing it without you. There's an expression with can't. I can't imagine this podcast without you. Before we go into the episode 300 and speak about expressions with can't that will improve your English, Reza's going to tell you about another way you can improve your English in addition to listening to this podcast. Reza, if somebody wanted a personal private teacher, where could they go?
One very good solution to that could be to use italki. Who are italki? Well, italki have a website where you can find a teacher for you. All you need is a computer and something like Skype or some kind of software where you can speak and see your teacher, and your class will be online. Now, who's your teacher going to be? Well, that's up to you to decide. italki have lists of teachers with different profiles, so you can see what experience your teacher has, how long they've been teaching for, what levels they teach, what time they're available, so that you choose when you have the class. You also choose how much you're going to pay, because different teachers, depending on different conditions, charge different amounts. So you really do choose your own teacher when you want. As a little incentive to get you started, if you, through our website, follow the link to italki or the image, and you register to have your first class with them and pay, then they will give you free $10 of credit to help you pay for your first class. So this is an offer which is only available to listeners of the podcast. So if you need a teacher, go to our website, follow the link, and start your classes. And Craig and I would like to thank italki for sponsoring Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
To take advantage of that $10 offer from italki, go to inglespodcast.com/300, and there you'll see the link to sign up. First this week, we have a message from Juan from Argentina, who's in the army.
Hello, Reza and Craig. My name is Juan. I'm from Argentina. I work in the Argentinian army. I studied English for my job because if you have a level of English, you can be posted in a peacekeeping mission. I've been posted twice in a peacekeeping mission in Cyprus. I worked there as military police. I had to work with Hungarian, Slovak, and British people. I didn't have any problem to communicate or to speak with Hungarian and Slovak people, but it was very difficult to understand British people because they speak so fast and they speak with slangs. And also they come from different parts or different places of England, even though from Scotland. So I need a piece of advice how to improve my listening skill because I would like to go again to Cyprus and to communicate fluently with them. Thank you very much for your podcast. They are very helpful and have a nice week.
Thank you very much for your message, Juan. It's very good to hear from you.
Yes, Juan, thanks very much. Your message was mostly clear, but maybe the equipment you were using caused us a few problems. We didn't at first understand when you said peacekeeping mission, but eventually we got it. He's on a peacekeeping mission.
It may have been the stress. I think the stress was not on the first word, peace. I think Juan stressed peacekeeping. So it's peacekeeping. So stress the first word, peacekeeping.
And you said that you'd been posted, which is good, but you said posted in, and we normally say posted to. So he's been posted to Cyprus before, and he would like to go back. And he said that he needs English and that he understood the Slovakians, the Hungarians, and other people well. It was the British people that he couldn't understand well.
Yeah, that can be a problem. It's often easier to understand students of English than native speakers because there's a lot of variation depending on the region, depending on the background of the people. And I find that with Spanish. I don't know about you, but I find some Spanish speakers easier to understand because maybe they speak a lot slower. Actually, I was speaking 2 days ago to a couple from the Denia Javier area, and the woman, I had no problem whatsoever understanding the woman. She spoke very clearly. She spoke very slowly. Her husband, I couldn't understand anything, and I was constantly asking him to repeat. However, after speaking to them for 10 or 15 minutes, my ears got used to and got accustomed to the way he was speaking, and it was easier. So one piece of advice, Juan, is to keep practicing, and with time, then it will get better. Can you offer any advice, Reza?
Yes, listen to specifically different accents, because in real life, as Craig has just demonstrated, you're going to hear different accents. Perhaps this woman's husband, who was difficult to understand, maybe he was from a different part of Spain.
No, he wasn't. He just spoke. He just spoke very quickly, and the way he pronounced the words wasn't as clear as his wife. So he was from the same area,
right?
Sometimes people are from the same area, but he spoke very differently, and it was just more difficult to understand him. And also, he spoke very quickly, so it's difficult to get every word.
Yeah, Juan, just listen to as many different voices, accents as you can. Try to listen to people who speak quite quickly, although you may have to repeat several times before you get all the information. So you might get 80, 90, 100% of what a slow speaker says the first time, but with a fast speaker, you might have to listen 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times. But with patience and repetition, you will get there eventually.
And it's really good that you're listening to us. We did a full podcast on improving your listening skills. That was back in episode 256. So Juan, go to inglespodcast.com/256, and I think that will help you. And it's good that you're listening to us, but my advice would also be listen to a variety of different podcasts from a variety of different places. So listen to American speakers, Australian speakers, Irish, Scottish, Welsh speakers. The more variety you have of different accents and cultural backgrounds and speakers, then the better your listening will become. So as Reza said, it's patience, it's time, it's constant listening, and it will get easier when you practice more.
Yes, Juan, you said some of the British soldiers that you spoke to were even though from Scotland. That's not exactly right. You should just say even from Scotland. Even means including. Even though means though, but a more emphatic form. So even though means though. Even means including. So they were even from Scotland.
And thank you for your message, Juan. Next, we have a voice message from Manuel from Chile.
Hello, Greg and Reza. My name is Manuel. I'm from Chile. I have been living here in Sweden for almost 35 years. I'm very happy to find you. I have been listening to your podcast for almost 1 year or 2 years, almost every day. And every day I find something different, and you find different topic, and that's very good for us. But I have a little question. I have when you listen to you, and I understand everything. But the big problem is when I have to watch a movie or just listen to the news on the TV. I still have a problem when I listen to the news. And I wonder why. Even I have been listening to other kind podcasts, and I don't know why I still have the problem with when I watching the movie. I don't want to read the subtitles. And all right, bye.
Thank you very much, Manuel, for your voice message. It's great to hear from you all the way from Chile, and a very clear, well-expressed message. I understood everything.
Me
so
too.
Well done.
Yeah.
Wasn't it good?
Every single word. So your pronunciation is good, clear. It was a nice rhythm, speed, good intonation. Everything was good. I did notice one little mistake, though.
Which one?
Curiously, your mistake was the opposite mistake to our previous speaker on a voice message, Juan. He said even though when he meant even. You said even when you should have said even though.
Do you remember the sentence?
Yeah. He said, even I've been listening to many podcasts.
Ah, yes.
You should have said, even though I've been listening to many podcasts.
Aunque.
Yeah. So your mistake was the opposite to Juan's, curiously. You must add the word though, because even means including, but you mean aunque even though. Curious that.
And Manuel's difficulty with English, his challenge is very similar to Juan's with listening. And again, my advice will be very similar. I know it's frustrating, and it still frustrates me after living in Spain for more than 20 years. And I meet people I don't understand. Why? I mean, it's very difficult. And also watching films in Spanish, sometimes if I watch a film from Chile or from Argentina in original version, and I can't understand what they're saying, it's so frustrating because I've been speaking Spanish and listening to Spanish for so long. But the solution, again, and I know we've said this so many times, it's practice and consistency. So if you're finding difficulties with a particular accent, for example, the Irish accent or the Northern English accent, then just try to find more material, find more content, more listenings from that accent, from that area, and just practice and listen again. Can you add anything to that, Reza?
I can only agree with you, and I have exactly the same problem as Craig. Most Spanish films don't give me any problem, but Argentinian films do. I find it really hard sometimes to follow when it's Argentinian speaking to other Argentinians very quickly with a lot of slang. I get lost sometimes. I've been speaking Spanish for 25 years. So yes, you've just got to be patient. It slowly comes. It improves. But don't expect perfection. Just expect to keep getting better.
And I'll let you into a secret, Manuel, just between you and I have difficulties sometimes understanding the Northern Irish accent. When I see, or the Scottish, when I see a film and the accent is very local and very colloquial, it takes me 5 or 10 minutes for my ears to adjust to the pronunciation of the vowels and the words, and it's my language. So I sympathize, but again, it's just practice and patience and try to overcome the frustration and just keep working on it. Well, expressions with can't, Reza. Before we look at a few expressions using the word can't, of course, can't is a contraction of cannot. One or two things about pronunciation. Now, Normally, it's difficult to hear the difference between the positive word can and the negative word can't. And we've spoken about this before. The T at the end of can't is not stressed very often, and it's difficult to hear the T at the end. So I suggest focusing on the vowel sound. Now, sometimes can has the same sound as the vowel in hat or cat, can. And can't has a longer vowel sound. So try and focus more on the vowel sound of the word to realize if it's negative and positive. I can speak English, positive. I can't, negative. And one more thing, when can and can't are in the middle of words, it's very often a weak sound. So you often don't hear I can swim, you hear I can swim. So it's an sound. I can and I can't. I can and I can't.
Yes, and another thing is about the stress. If it's a positive sentence, as Craig says, you will probably most of the time hear a weak form, I can swim. If it's negative, people will stress the word can't a bit more. They'll say, I can swim, but I can't play the piano. So if you're finding it hard to hear that final t sound, which makes it negative, can and can't, ask yourself, did they stress the word? Did he say, I can't swim? Or did he say, I can swim? If there's no stress on the word, can or can't, it was probably the positive, can. And if they stressed it, I can't play the piano, it was probably negative. Because it's very hard to hear the difference.
It is sometimes, and sometimes you're helped with short answers with the word no or yes. So can you meet me tomorrow? No, I can't. So obviously with no, you know, that's that's a negation. Or yes, I can. So obviously with yes, it's positive. But sometimes you just get the answer, I can, I can't. That's not so easy.
Now, Craig, I've heard you're planning to go to Disney World.
Well, I can't wait. Our first expression is I can't wait. Now, I can't wait means I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited. Tengo mucha ilusión. I can't wait to go. Actually, this will surprise you because I haven't mentioned this to you. I'm not going to Disney World, but I am going to Orlando.
Oh, right. So you want me to believe you're going to Orlando, but you're not going to try and see Mickey? I don't believe it.
That's absolutely true. I can't wait to go to Orlando in March. I'm going to a podcasting conference.
Well, that sounds good, but I can't believe it that you're going to see everything Orlando has to offer, but not Mickey. I can't believe it, Craig.
I know. It's difficult to believe. I'll try to find Mickey and take a photo and send it to you, but I don't think I'll be going to Disney World, and I probably won't be seeing Mickey, but I am going to Orlando in March. By the way, if there are any podcast editors listening to this, you may be interested in the conference. It's in Orlando from the 6th to the 8th of March, and if you would like information, you can go to the website podcasteditorsconference.com. And I can't wait to go there and meet fellow editors.
You know what? Whenever we finish a podcast and we play it back just to check the quality, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I can't bear it. I hate it. I can't stand listening to my own voice. I find it horrible. I just can't bear it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you've got quite a pleasant voice.
Oof, I wish I agreed, but I can't stand it.
I can't stand people who jump the queue.
Very British.
People who push in, the phrasal verb to push in is jump the queue. What did Sandra say in a recent episode we did on British American English? To cut in line.
Cut in line.
I can't stand people who cut in line. There's another expression with can't. I can't stand it. Remember the object. I can't stand it when people cut in line, or I can't bear it when people jump the queue.
Craig, is there anything that you can't get out of your mind lately?
Oh, I can tell you something. I saw this morning on the BBC website, there was a short video about spiders. A fear of spiders. Now, I have a fear of spiders, and arachnophobia. And when I see a spider, I can't get it out of my mind. And when I saw these tarantulas walking on this girl's arm, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It's stuck in there. I can't get it out of my mind.
Yeah. When I was young, I used to love watching horror films, even though they really scared me. I don't know why I did it. I knew they would scare me, but I loved watching them. And I couldn't get them out of my mind all night. So I went to bed thinking of the monsters and everything. I don't know why I tortured myself. Because I watched something knowing that later I wouldn't get it out of my mind because I just couldn't.
I noticed you used even though there. Even though they scared me. Another expression with can't. I can't hear myself think. That means I can't concentrate. You're making too much noise. Sometimes in this flat, because the walls are very thin and the neighbours are very noisy, there's a lot of noise coming from other flats. And I can't work. I can't hear myself think. Does that happen to you sometimes?
Sometimes with noisy neighbours. Yeah. Craig, I think my mum always says, I'm sure your mum said the same, you can't beat a nice cup of tea to refresh you.
You can't beat it. Does that mean beat like pegar?
Hit it?
Not
No.
hit it?
It means there's nothing better. If you can't beat something, it's the best. So many British people think that you can't beat a nice cup of tea. If you want to refresh yourself, there's nothing better. You can't beat it.
I'll tell you what you can't beat. You can't beat a good biscuit dunked in a nice cup of tea. You just can't beat it. It's the best.
I couldn't agree more.
I'll tell you something else you can't beat. You can't beat the Australian chocolate that Alberta sent us.
Oh, yeah.
It was very good. You just can't beat it. Reza, what do you think about the Brexit situation at the moment? Can you understand what's going on?
To be honest, Craig, I can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around it. I can't really understand it. I don't know how it's happened. I don't know what the current state is. Nobody knows. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. And above all, I just don't know why it has ever happened. It seems a bit crazy. I can't get my head around it.
I can't get my head around it either. I just can't understand it.
Craig, if I were to say to you, you can't win, am I talking about a competition?
Well, you could be, but you could also be saying just that life is difficult. For example, with our students, I mean, how many times do we tell our students, listen to the podcast, not listen the podcast? How many times do we say people are, not people is? And you tell students time and time again, you just can't win. You just can't win.
And you say to them, listen to the podcast. They go, yeah, but, is there any other way? It's like, well, yeah, there are. You listen to other things. But, the podcast's free and you can't ask better than that.
You can't ask better than that.
You don't get many things free in life. Like, you should be happy with that. We are recording a podcast. It's to help you with your English. You don't have to give us any money. Now, you can't ask better than that, can you?
You can use that expression, you can't ask better than that, or something similar, you can't say fairer than that. You can't say fairer than that. That's like the man who went to the doctors. Did you hear this one? Went to the doctor, he said, doctor, I have a problem with my pronunciation. I can't pronounce the letters F, T and H. And the doctor said, well, you can't say fairer than that.
Very good.
Reza, I can't believe it.
What?
I can't believe it's not butter.
Oh, do you remember that ad on TV?
It's actually a product.
It's the name of the product, isn't it?
It's the name of the butter. Well, it's not butter, is it?
Yeah.
But I can't believe it's
hard to believe. Surprising.
Yeah.
Seems like butter, but it isn't.
So the expression I can't believe it means I'm incredibly surprised. I just can't believe it. I can't believe she's won the lottery, for example.
So, Craig, have you spent hours and hours cooking lunch for me today?
No, to be honest, Reza, I couldn't be bothered. Obviously, the past of can't is couldn't, so I couldn't be bothered. If you can't be bothered to do something, you have no interest, you don't feel like doing it. No tienes ganas. I can't be bothered. Many things now I just can't be bothered to do. I can't be bothered to clean the flat. I can't be bothered to mark my students' essays and correct their writing. I can't be bothered to do the dishes or tidy my office. Is there anything you can't be bothered to do?
Organize my computer files. I really should, but I just can't be bothered. By the way, this is not a normal day, because normally Craig or his wife or both of them make a huge effort and they make me the most fantastic food. I only do this for the food, I only do this for the fantastic lunches. But today Craig's a bit tired, I'm a bit tired, we haven't got time, so we can't be bothered. But normally we do have a fantastic meal. Why do you think I always sound so happy in the podcast? I know I'm about to have a fantastic feast straight afterwards.
Another expression which is similar to I can't be bothered, but it's more informal, and be careful where you use this. I can't be asked. I can't be asked means I can't be bothered.
Your arse is your bottom, right?
Yeah, I can't be asked. No tengo ganas.
If you think of the idea that you can't be bothered to move your bottom, to get up and do it.
Yeah, because move your ass is
like,
muévete.
do it. So you're sitting and down and you're not going to stand up. You can't be asked.
What do they say? Muévete el culito? Move your ass?
Muévete el culito.
Yeah.
Craig, I would love to invite you round to my house to eat the most expensive imported caviar, followed by jamón ibérica de bellota de pata negra from Extremadura.
For 4,000 euros a leg.
Yeah, I would love to, but I'm not going to. You know why?
You can't be bothered.
I could be bothered. I can't afford it.
Oh, you can't afford it?
I can't afford it. I would love to, Craig, but imported top quality caviar and 4,000 for one leg of ham, I just can't afford it because I record podcasts for free. So I don't get much money from that. So I can't afford to give you those things. I'm sorry.
Well, I would really like to put a recording booth or a recording studio in my flat, but I just can't afford it. I don't have the money.
Craig, there are times when we've been recording here in his house, and I think, I can't take it anymore. You know why?
You can't take it?
I can't take it anymore.
Why?
The noisy neighbors. Sometimes we're trying to record here and we got music on one side. We've got somebody screaming in agony on the other side, somebody who must be very sick. And we have to keep stopping and restarting. So if you ever hear any strange noises in the background, this is why. And sometimes we think, we can't take it anymore. Please be quiet. Let us just record our podcast in peace.
So if you say you can't take it, it means it's too much for you. It's demasiado. It's just, you can't take it. You can't take it. By the way, if you would like to see any of these expressions, just go to the show notes at inglespodcast.com/300. Reza, what does the expression beggars can't be choosers mean, this idiom?
That's a very common idiom. So a beggar is someone who begs, someone who asks for things for free because they're poor or they can't afford to pay you. And if you choose something, you select. So the chooser is the one who selects. So beggars can't be choosers. So people who have nothing can't say, I want this, but I don't want that. If you need something, just accept it. Just take it. In Spanish, you could say something like, cuando hay hambre, no hay pan duro. So in other words, don't be so selective. But I heard a good story from someone who's appeared on our podcast, Mike Harding, about the beggar who was a chooser. It's a good story. Quite often, Mike and his wife, Gina, used to come across a beggar in their neighborhood.
What does come across mean?
To come across by chance, they saw him in the street. And they took pity on him. They felt sorry for him. And quite often they brought him home and gave him a nice meal and let him sit down for a few hours or whatever. And I remember them telling me that they had to be prepared if he was going to come to their house, because a couple of times they'd offered him wine and he refused it. You know why?
He didn't like it?
It wasn't Rioja, and he only drinks Rioja. And that is a true story. It's like, bueno, no Rioja. No, I don't want it then.
So beggars can be choosers.
He was a beggar who was a chooser. He only drank Rioja wine. He wouldn't drink anything that wasn't Rioja.
Speaking of good wine, do you remember when the school where we work, the British Council used to have Christmas meals that they paid for.
Yeah.
They would invite you to a Christmas meal, and let's be honest, the food was not that great, the wine was not that great, but we appreciated it because it was a free meal, and beggars can't be choosers. You could also say, never look a gift horse in the mouth, which is very similar. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Craig, if I were to say to you, you can't live with them, you can't live without them, who or what might I be talking about? Any idea?
Well, that is quite a common and perhaps sexist expression that some men use to speak about their wives. If they're having problems with their wife because men and women don't always look at the world in the same way and they have disagreements, you might hear a man say, you know, women, yeah, you can't live with them and you can't live without them.
Yeah. The reason you can't live without them could be because they're a really good cook, they're very good at organizing the house, and they're generally more intelligent than you.
Yeah, very sexist.
But they never leave you in peace. But women say exactly the same these days as well. Women will often say, oh, men, ooh, can't live with them, can't live without them.
That's true.
So originally it was more a typical thing that men said in a sexist way. But now you can really pretty much apply it to anything, I guess.
Although most of my ex-girlfriends would probably say, Craig, you can't live with him and you can't live with him.
Yeah. In other words, you can live without him quite easily.
Another expression with can't, if you can't help something, you have no control over it. I can't help it.
Craig,
I
why
can't
do you
control it.
Why do you eat 2 kilos of chocolate a week?
I can't help it. I can't help it.
You know it's not good for you. You just do it.
I know. I can't help it. I have no control over it. So use the object it. I can't help it. Also with most of these expressions, I can't afford it. I can't believe it. If you use a verb, it's a gerund. For example, I can't help eating chocolate. Is there anything that you can't help doing?
Yes, recording podcasts. Even though there's no money in it, and for that reason I can't afford anything, I just can't help recording podcasts. I really enjoy it. You too?
I'm pleased to hear it. Me too. I can't help being enthusiastic about recording podcasts even 6 years after we started. I just can't help it.
300 episodes and we just can't help it. Here we are. There's no money in it. We haven't got any richer, but we can't help it.
You know, Reza, I was walking around Valencia yesterday, around the centre, and I saw a really attractive lady in the street, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. What does that expression mean? I can't take my eyes off her.
Well, you enjoyed looking at her with your eyes because she was really attractive. You found her very attractive. You were really attracted to her, so you couldn't take your eyes off her. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely true. There's a very famous song by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons called Can't Take My Eyes Off You. We'll link to that in the show notes with the lyrics. So if you want to practice listening to a song, go to inglespodcast.com/300 in the show notes and sing along to Frankie Valli, I Can't Take My Eyes Off You.
Craig, perhaps if you were doing something very important that needs concentration, and the woman that you were very impressed with yesterday came and sat down beside you and started talking, you might think, oh, now I'm distracted. I can't concentrate. I can't think straight.
Yeah.
She's distracted you. You find her very attractive, much more interesting than what you were doing. So now you can't think straight.
That's right. Anything that affects your concentration in a negative way, anything that distracts you, you could say, I can't think straight. For me, especially after lunch, when I've had a big meal, I can't think straight unless I have a nap, a short siesta, to have a nap or take a nap. Then I can think straight. So if you can think straight, you can concentrate. And the opposite, I can't think straight.
Do you remember that chocolate that Alberto gave us that we tried the other day?
Yeah, great memories of that chocolate.
As soon as I had the first bite, I thought, oh, you can tell this is top quality stuff.
When you say you can tell, does that mean you're going to speak about it, to tell someone?
Because do you notice I said you can tell, not I'm going to tell. You can tell this is good stuff. That means it's obvious. You can tell. You can tell immediately. It's very clear. You can tell.
So the opposite will be you can't tell. For example, a week ago I had a haircut, but it wasn't very short. You probably can't tell that I had my haircut.
Yeah, because I couldn't really see a difference. So
Right.
I couldn't tell. It wasn't obvious. In fact, until he told me, I didn't know because you couldn't tell. Craig, there's a very famous quotation with the word can and can't. You probably know it. It goes like this. You can fool all of the people some of the time and some of the people all of the time. But you can't fool all the people all the time.
Yeah, a very famous quote by Abraham Lincoln, the US president, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty obvious what it means.
It's the sort of thing politicians need to bear in mind. Heaven forbid that means, please forgive me if I suggest that occasionally politicians tell lies. But you can't tell lies that everybody's going to believe all the time. Be careful what you say.
And another famous proverb, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So that means although you give someone an opportunity, you can't force them to take it. We can say that this podcast gives you the opportunity to practice your speaking when you send us a voice message, and we tell you this every week. But if you don't send us a voice message, you're not practicing your speaking. So we can lead you to the water, but we can't make you drink. If you want to practice, you have to speak.
Yeah, we're giving you the opportunity, but only you can take it.
So why not send us a voice message? Tell us your name, where you're from, what difficulties you're having with English, and how we can help you improve it. You can send these messages to speakpipe.com, speakpipe.com/English podcast. Reza, where do emails go to?
You could write to Craig an email at craig@englishpodcast.com or to me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you're interested in paid courses, we do have some for sale in the Mansion Inglés store. So there's a full range of audio courses there and other courses. Go to store.mansioningles.net.
As always, we'd like to thank all our Patreon sponsors. They're the people who are supporting the podcast by donating some money, as little as $1 a month, to help us. Where does this money go, Craig?
It goes to paying for the transcriptions to the podcast. So if you're interested in reading all of the words that we speak, we're doing that, and we are up to date, I'm pleased to say. So apologies for the delay we had in the past with getting those transcriptions to you, but we're sending them out now. So you'll be receiving the transcription to this episode very soon. And if you would like to get it, go to patreon.com/Englishpodcast and sign up for our Patreon program.
And if you go there, you'll see the names of all our Patreon sponsors. We haven't got time to mention them all now, but as ever, we will say thanks to our most recent, our new sponsors, who are Julian Gomez, formerly known as Norman Foster, Joseba Jimenez, Federico Mancinelli, Maria Garcia, Mario Garfias, Carlos Gallego, and Diego Rich. Thanks to all of you.
And before you go, if you're still listening to the podcast, you're probably an AIRC-aholic because you're listening right until the end of the show. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for listening all these years. If you have been listening since 2014 and you're still listening in episode 300, we would love to hear from you. So please send us a voice message. Reza, what are we speaking about next week?
Is it really necessary for me to tell the listeners?
I think you must. I think you have to.
That's it. It's must and have to next week.
Is there a difference between must and have to? Well, you have to listen to us next week. Until then, thank you for listening this week. It's goodbye from Reza.
And goodbye from Craig.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later. Music also by Kevin MacLeod, Aces High, and Dranking Song. Kevin's website is incompetech.com.